Welcome back, everybody, to episode 2 of the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. I'm joined with my co-host, Coach Ralph. Coach, how are you?
Very good, Salim. Yourself?
I'm doing well. 2 for 2 this week, so that was good.
Yeah, good week for the Reds. Great week for the Reds.
Yeah, we'll start, I think, with the FA Cup game. It was on Wednesday. It was a tough game. But what the nice part is a 3-0 victory, goals from the kids. I mean, can't ask for much more. They've really carried us the past couple of games.
Yeah, I think from a media perspective, it was ideal because all 3 goals were scored by Kumas and Danns, just young, inexperienced teenagers, and it makes great dialogue, something to talk about, and it was a dream game for them.
It really was. I was kind of looking a little bit ahead and noticed that the fixtures are coming thick and fast even more through yesterday to the halfway through the month on the 16th. But then we get a bit of a break, which is going to be nice. But going back to the FA Cup game, were there any things other than the goals from Kumas and the 2 goals from Danns that stood out to you?
I think the big thing was the first half was a struggle. And I think that's to be expected because they just had a big emotional game last weekend. And Southampton, to their credit, they play an attacking open game. And even though the Saints made some changes, they still had quite an experienced group out there. And Liverpool looked disjointed. I think that's a fair comment. And they were trying some new things, notably Joe Gomez as the number 6, the defensive midfielder. And it certainly took them a while to get going because while they could maybe knock the ball around to some degree, once it came to the attacking third, they weren't really penetrating. Although I think just before the interval, that began to change slightly when Gakpo had a great opportunity but failed to get off a shot.
Yeah. The Joe Gomez playing in the 6 was a complete surprise. We haven't seen him in that position, but I think it goes to his credit how flexible he is and how willing he is to take on any task that Jurgen Klopp gives him.
Yeah, I think people forget, Salim, that Gomez is a very good player, and he's been extremely unfortunate with injuries. He's had 2 or 3. Most of them, as I recall, seem to be when he's off with the England team rather than with Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kept him out for considerable length of time. And when you're out, you lose your place often, particularly the place like Liverpool, where there's a lot of quality players, there's a lot of competition. And so he's kind of been shunted off into the background. But this season, the way things have worked out, he's been called upon numerous times. He's been called upon in different roles, and he's excelled. He's excelled, and I think Gomez, I think a lot of fans are starting to recognize the job that he does for the team and for the squad.
Yeah, I have in my notes that Joe Gomez played in the 6, and somehow the team patched everything together, and the kids delivered again. Essentially, the second half was all Liverpool, and Anfield was going nuts. And I can just imagine how Kumas and Dan specifically scoring in the Klopp or the Kop end, should be called the Klopp end now, but
good point. Good point.
That he just the feeling they must have had, and playing in Anfield in an important game where they were relied upon, and they delivered.
Right. Right. No, I mean, obviously the boys coming through and contributing has been, I think it's been a surprise and it's been a bonus given all of the circumstances. And I follow to some degree the entire club. You know, like I'll maybe watch a reserve team or an under 18 game from time to time. And to be honest with you, I didn't know anything about Jayden Danns. He was a new player to me. Kumas had heard about. His father was with Liverpool as a junior, and he had a considerable career as a professional, also playing for a local team in Tranmere Rovers. But Dan's was new, so I actually went in, and as you well know, YouTube has got everything on it.
Right.
So I was able to look at these highlights of Dan's playing with the U18s and with the under 21s, and there's a lot to his game. I mean, he may be 18, 19, whatever it is, but he's physical. He competes. He makes good runs. He's got good touch. He can take men on, and he can finish. Now, obviously, playing at the junior levels will not be the same as the EPL. Having said that, his first goal against Southampton was very cool, very calm, very collected, collecting the ball and then just chipping it over the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Very good finish, and so to me, just looking at his highlights, he certainly got potential. And the manager's got him in there, so obviously he has faith in him.
Yeah, and the second goal, how he was the first one to react off of Connor Bradley's shot that was well saved by the goalie. I thought that shot was going in outside of the right foot. I mean, great shape to it. Goalie got down, got his hand on it, and then all of a sudden, before you even know it, it just smashed into the back of the net. And what a good reaction from the youngster to get in there and be lively and active, making sure that any rebound was his.
Right. And again, you can't teach that, you can't coach that. That's something that the boy has himself. And as you rightly say, he was first to the ball, read the situation, and that's the hallmark of a striker.
Yeah. So I looked at the bench, and then I just, like you, did a little bit of research, but I just want to kind of list the players that we had in the match day squad. So Jarell Kwanzaa, 21 years old. Connor Bradley, 20 years old. Bobby Clark, 19 years old. James McConnell, 19 years old. Lewis Kumas, 18. Jayden Danns, 18. Trey Nyoni, 16. Cade Gordon, 19. Callan Scanlon, 19. Amaro Nalo, 17. And then Elliott, 20. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah. The academy has certainly shown that it can contribute when it's called upon. And the thing for me, as I said, with Danns, some of these boys, I've never really heard of them before. For example, Nyoni.
Yeah.
Really heard of him before. Nalo, never heard of him before. There's a couple of them that played in pre-season. So Kwanzaa, Bradley and Clark have been kind of on the bubble for a while. Kwanzaa and Bradley went out on loan last year and played successfully at, I think Kwanzaa was Bristol Rovers, Bradley was at Bolton. And he was a good enough player at Bolton to be their player of the season and also make the League One team of the season. So he certainly had some credentials. Plus, he's played for his country. He's played for Northern Ireland over 10 times. So he was somebody that was on the radar. And I believe that Bradley and Clark would have played more, but they had injuries earlier in the season. So that maybe held them back a little bit.
Yeah, I thought out of all of them, I thought Bradley looked the most composed, the most the player that looked like he really, really, really belonged. I think Kwanzaa has a lot of capabilities. He reminds me of Van Dijk from a standpoint of he's just calm, composed. He's not like screaming and yelling, and he's very very sure of himself, which I like. I think there's a lot of development still to go on with him. I'm not comparing him to Virgil or comparing him to what Virgil became, but you can see kind of those shades of him, because Virgil on the ball and the way he defends, it's a master class. He doesn't dive in very much. He kind of holds people off. He can win balls in the air. He can score goals, and he's an anchor. And I can see Kwanzaa becoming that in the future. But I really, really like how Bradley is just feels comfortable there. It doesn't feel like he's out of place at all. Not saying that the other guys are out of place, but he just seems more comfortable.
Yes, yeah. I mean, Bradley catches the eye because he's very dynamic going forward. And so naturally your eye gets drawn to that. And one of his early games was that Chelsea League game at Anfield, where he not only got forward, but he had a really clinical finish. So he's certainly going to catch the eye. Kwanzaa, I very much agree with your evaluation, and physically, he actually looks like a young Van Dijk from a distance, and certainly the way he glides out of defence with the ball, he's very calm, very composed when he has the ball at his feet. And again, it's another case of he's been kind of involved from the start of the season, so his path in the current season has been very different to some of these other youngsters, because Jurgen Klopp has not been shy in bringing him in throughout the season, and he's got a lot of confidence now.
Yeah, and with Matip with a long-term injury, I think that was an avenue for him into the first team and playing.
Oh, definitely. That kind of enhanced his possibilities.
And one thing we were concerned about when we were talking about this game, we were kind of predicting what the lineup would be, and how Virgil get a break? How would he manage the team and manage the senior players? And I thought he did an excellent job. Virgil played one half with Kwanzaa, and then Konate came in and played the second half. I thought that was a very good call on his part. Maka came in for McConnell in the 62nd. Danns came in for Kumas in the 63rd. Nioni in for Elliott. I mean, Elliott's played so much in the last week. The fact that he even clocked in another 78 minutes was incredible. And then Cade Gordon came in for Gapco in the 90th. So 3 goals. The kids played well. They got on the field. The senior players got even more rest, and it came out in spades and how necessary it was for Saturday's game in the morning at 8 a.m. My local time, at I think 10 a.m. your local time.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Other than the fact that we're playing United at Old Trafford in the quarterfinals next in the FA Cup, any parting thoughts?
What's on the FA Cup game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, in the end, it turned out great because, as you said, the second half was all Liverpool. The first half, they struggled. They couldn't get a rhythm going. But I think that goal just before halftime by Kumas, and he got a bit of luck. But having said that, I think you could see before that he wasn't frightened to try to take men on.
Yeah.
And credit to him, because he took the guy on. Yes, he got a deflection, but if you don't try it, then you don't get it. And I think that gave him and it gave the rest of the group a lot of confidence. And it seemed to take something away from Southampton and of course then the crowd gets behind the young team, and it becomes difficult for them. So I think that going forward, Manchester United away. In fact, Liverpool plays them twice in the next month away, and they're going to be tough games. Liverpool, as I think that we'll go on to say in this podcast, has trouble with teams that sit in. And I think Manchester United, be very surprised if they take the game to Liverpool. You never know, but I'd be very surprised. So it's going to be one of those games where Liverpool's trying to break down an opponent, and Manchester United has some pace on the break, as we all know. But we will come to that game in due course, Salim.
Yeah. Well, if it's anything like the first game of the season when Man U came to Anfield, and they just sat in, and I think it makes sense from their standpoint. I mean, they don't want another 7-0 shellacking or 5-0. I mean, there's been a lot of lopsided scores in that game that just don't make sense from a derby standpoint. But I fully anticipate the exact same thing, and try to snatch one. They'll try to snatch one on a break, but yeah, in due course, like you said. The next game is Sparta Prague in the Europa League. Then we have Nottingham. We played Nottingham Forest, Manchester City next week, and then the FA Cup quarterfinals. It's nice that after that, there will be a break, and it's needed. The international break, and then just get people feeling, getting back. I believe that by then Trent Alexander-Arnold will be back, possibly Allison, but I'm not even too worried about that, the way Kelleher's been playing. And I'm really, it just seems that in the past, and what I mean in the past, in the last, say 2-3 months, when somebody's been out, then somebody else has come in. For example, a good example is McAllister got hurt, and then Endo came in and did the job, and then Endo went to the Asian Cup, and McAllister had just gotten back from his injury. So we've kind of had that luck, and then everything kind of everybody got hurt at the same time. But how important was it that Nunez came back yesterday and played?
Well,
I mean, I was telling somebody, I'm like, if he wasn't able to play even I believe 30 minutes that he played, I don't know that we win that game.
Oh, well, we wouldn't have won the game. I mean, he's involved so many different times. Even if he doesn't get on the end of things, he's close, he's thereabouts, he's a threat, he's a problem for the other team. And his presence brings an awful lot to Liverpool. And I feel that he gets a very unfair rap from a lot of the critics and the pundits and what have you, because he was signed around the same time that Manchester City brought in Erling Haaland, and I think Haaland's going to be one of the greatest strikers ever. So it's a little tough on Nunez to be constantly compared to him. But I think if you look at his record since he's come to Anfield, that he compares favourably to any other striker in the EPL.
Yeah.
And so I think that we as fans have to take that perspective. We have to take that perspective, realise who he is, what he does, and certainly the Kop seems to love him. It's just that he takes a lot of flack from the critics and the pundits, and he improvised tremendously well. I mean, first of all, on the winning goal, it was fantastic composure by McAllister.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's so late in the game, everybody's getting desperate. He's cool, he's calm, he turns, he clips the ball into the right area. It's just a question of whether somebody can get into that right area. And Nunez is at full stretch and he's kind of craning back and he just gets enough on it to redirect it. Does he know what he's doing? He knows exactly what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
He knows exactly what he's doing. And so he's a good striker and he's still relatively young. I think there's a lot of development possible. And I think he's going to be a 20-goal-a-season striker. Haaland may double that, but I don't think that that's the point because you have Nunez, you have Salah, you have Diaz, you have Jota, you have Gakpo. So there's lots of aces in the pack potentially for the Reds, not just this season, but in the future.
Yeah. And to dive a little bit deeper into the Nottingham Forest game, Coach, you made two really good observations before the game. You expected Forest to sit in and hit on the counter, and you specifically mentioned Elanga. And Elanga, I think he had the two best chances of the match. A great save by Kelleher in the first half, and then in the second half, when he was wide open and he just side-footed it past the post. I mean, I was saying, here comes, and thank God he missed. But Nottingham Forest put up a good fight.
Yeah, I thought that they were very good on the day in terms of the way that they set up. There were several occasions where they were throwing their bodies on the line in defence, which reflects their commitment. And they have pace up front. I mean, Elanga, Origi, who of course we all know about. He has a bit of speed as well. And actually, he had a great shot early in the game that was just past the post.
Yeah.
And then Ananui as well. I mean, he's got pace. He's big. He's strong. And he scored the winning goal last season against Liverpool. So they've certainly got very good attacking options, Nottingham Forest. And I think the thing for any team that sits in against Liverpool, they know Liverpool will dominate possession. They'll push them back. And as long as they block off all the main spaces, have a couple of guys up front that can run, Liverpool will be vulnerable. Always makes me laugh when I hear the pundits talk about other teams having chances against Liverpool. Of course, they're going to make chances against Liverpool. Same against Manchester City because they play the high line. When you're playing that, you're playing to some degree Russian roulette because you're conceding a lot of space, and so you see that when teams push up against Liverpool, all of a sudden Liverpool also have the pace as well and they can get in behind. But when they sit back, obviously there's no opportunity to do that and they have to rely on different things to try to get the result.
Yeah. And once again, Klopp used all 5 substitutions. I mean, He really understands the importance of using all 5. It feels like he's been doing it all year.
Oh, well, that's part of his tactic. I mean, for me as a coach, when obviously I'm not coaching at that level, for me the perfect number of subs was 3 because it's easy to keep the shape and the organisation of the team. Obviously, Klopp has refined the system. He's got 5 players. And why do they want 5 players? I think there's 2 issues as to why they want 5. One is to keep the tactical momentum of the style of play going. And clearly, Liverpool is a club where from first team all the way down to the junior teams, like they play similar style. And I think that we've seen that as the young boys have come in. So there's nothing that's any different to them. So similar style. And I think the other thing is that in the modern game where you've got all these highly paid players, if you can play 16 rather than 13 or 14, it's easier to keep them involved. And I think that helps the harmony of the squad. Because whether you like it or not, everybody wants to play.
Sure.
Everybody wants to play, and I think that's a way of managing it.
Also, with how many games the modern player are playing with, the Champions League or European football, national team, Premier League, FA Cup, Caribou Cup. I mean, they play 50 to 60 games sometimes if they're in all competitions, and they go deep in them. So having 5 substitutions is also refreshing that you can kind of give these guys a break, and you can rotate them appropriately.
Right, and Klopp hasn't been able to do that because the injury list has been so long. So Elliott, as you pointed out previously, has played a lot more than maybe he anticipated, and maybe that the manager wanted to play him. And it's not a reflection on his ability. It's a reflection on the fact that to play high-intensity soccer, high-intensity football, you have to give him a break. I think McAllister's played a lot as well.
Yeah.
And so at times you could see, that Liverpool were a little bit lower key against Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
I think that was evident. Having said that, that didn't deter them from continuing to take the game to Forest. And obviously it's difficult circumstances because crowd is partisan, as I think we could all hear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that comes into the mix. Of course, the shoe is on the other foot when they come to Anfield.
Right.
But you're on the road. Forest certainly has a partisan fan base. And, I mean, every time there was any physical contact, you could hear the fans. And that's something that teams have to be able to handle, deal with, and ultimately get past. And on this occasion, Liverpool were able to do that.
Yeah, they were. And when I was watching the game, I sensed that McAllister was a little off. He missed like some relatively easy passes. And as I was kind of watching the game and just kind of watching him, and I thought to myself, maybe my eyes are tricking me here. Something, he's still playing well. It just he's missing some easy ones. One pass that comes to mind was he intercepted a ball maybe 30 yards before midfield and was driving the ball, and then I believe Gakpo was out on the right, and he went to pass it to him, and it just went right to the Nottingham Forest defender. And it just was really surprising to me. Just how technically savvy and good he is. And I did just some statistical digging because I thought maybe my eyes were tricking me. So with McAllister per 90, his pass attempts are 62.91 on average. His completion rate's 85.7% completion, and his progressive passes are 6.27.
Mm-hmm.
As I dug into the Nottingham Forest game, he had 67 pass attempts, 85% completion, and 6 progressive passes. So my eyes were tricking me. And he played just like how he normally plays from an average standpoint.
Right. I mean, players are always going to make errors. It doesn't matter how good they are. I think the key thing was a point we touched on earlier was the way that he had his composure and his calmness to set up the winning goal.
Yeah.
Because at that point, everybody knows that the whistle is imminent, and that's when players start to panic and get frantic, and he just looked very serene almost out there, turns away from the defender, clips in a quality ball, and thankfully Nunez was able to get on the end of it.
Yeah, that came from a shot from Tsimikas, I think, and it just kind of ricocheted all over the place, and
ended up with McAllister.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And he intercepted the ball too. There were 2 Nottingham Forest players trying to kind of push it forward, and he just stepped in front, shielded the ball, turned, clipped it. I mean, it really was really impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the other thing that I thought was a positive sign was Endo coming in. Didn't look like he, lost a step. The knock was simply, they said, like maybe a bone bruise, but nothing muscle, ligament, um, or tendon. And then Szoboszlai came in for 14 minutes and plus extra time, or plus added time rather, and that was really good to see that Szoboszlai back.
Right. Look, I mean, obviously he's a good player, and the one thing that Szoboszlai is very good at is picking the ball up in midfield and driving at players. And there's times in these games when other teams sit in that you need a player like that, rather than always playing the ball around. You need players that can take men on, players that will drive at opponents. And I think that's a real strength of the Hungarian. He's very good at that.
Yeah. Coach, what was your reaction when you saw Darwin score that goal? Were you screaming and yelling to the point where your 4-year-old daughter came out of her room and said, "Dad, you scared me"?
Well, I don't know that I did that, but there was wow, that huge. It's kind of a mixture of surprise and relief.
Right. And when teams win, the Premier League or any league in Europe, there are moments like this that are important in the actual achievement of winning a title.
Uh-huh.
Moving forward, Sparta Prague on Thursday, Man City on Sunday. What do you anticipate for a lineup at Sparta Prague? I think the fact that Endo got 30 minutes, Darwin got 30 minutes, Szoboszlai got 14 minutes. Is it time to just up those minutes a little bit?
I think it's possible. I mean, it's a difficult one, really, because I guess in some ways Liverpool have a little bit of disadvantage here in that they have to travel. They have to travel to the Czech Republic,
Mm-hmm.
and they still have a lot of injury question marks. So, what kind of team does Jurgen Klopp field? And not quite sure what he will do. If you're looking beyond that to Manchester City, I would say that Endo is a critical player for Liverpool. Because even if every player was fit, I think that Endo would be in your top 11.
Right.
And I felt this for a while, and I think some people might be surprised with that. I think the best midfield three for me would be Endo, McAllister, and Szoboszlai. That would be your best three. But do you start them? Do you bring them on and give them minutes? Will they start next Sunday against Manchester City? So you've got Salah. I think we're going to see Salah over the next week.
Yeah.
I think that the ideal would be that he gets some minutes against Sparta. Might still be a risk to start him against Manchester City, but I think he has to get some minutes on Thursday if he's able to. And then which players do you protect? Because you know that when it comes down to the acid test, you're going to need Van Dijk, you're going to need Endo. There's several players that you're going to really need. So yeah. It's a very tricky situation for the manager. The players who are definitely out are Alisson and Trent. I'm not quite sure whether Jones will come into contention now. But you got the lads that played at the weekend, and I'm trying to think who else is out. Jota's obviously out. Yeah. And I think that those are the only contenders, the three that played at the weekend and maybe Salah. I don't think there's anybody else that can come in off the injury list.
Yeah. I think Salah, if able, if we can put him in for 15 minutes, something like that, against Sparta Prague, that would be really encouraging for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And, he historically torches Manchester City. So I don't know if going from 15 minutes to a full game makes sense, especially how curious and how nobody really knows what his injury is. I'm hearing muscle fatigue. I'm hearing, it was the hamstring, it was the knee. I mean, we're not really sure. But if he could get 15 minutes at Sparta Prague and then maybe 30, 35 minutes at City, that would be really encouraging.
Right. I mean, the thing with a lot of these injuries is how you bring the players back, because we got a very good illustration of that recently, and it was with Crystal Palace, where Hodgson didn't start Elise, one of his key players.
Mm-hmm.
He brought him on in the second half, and he only lasted 10 minutes. So it's a very dicey proposition for any manager. Do you bring them off the bench, let the pace go out of the game, and then bring them on? I mean, Salah's personality is that he wants to play all the time, and so how much credence do you give to that, given the injury circumstance? Tricky. It's tricky, but I think we have the right guy to deal with it in Jurgen Klopp. He knows his players. I think he knows how to approach them. I think he knows how to get the best out of them.
Yeah.
So I think we have to trust in his judgment. If he starts Salah, then it's because he feels that he can do that. If he doesn't start Salah, I'm sure that he will have done what he can to manage the situation, even if Mo Salah's not totally happy with it. That's his job. That's his job, and he does it
right. Right. I think the back four for Sparta Prague and the goalie is, I think it picks itself, right, with Robertson, Bradley, and then Virgil van Dijk, and then either Konate or any two out of the three, Kwanzaa, Virgil, and Konate. And
I have a feeling he'll rest Robertson. I have a feeling that he'll rest Robertson against Sparta, and he might do the reverse of what he did on Saturday and start Tsimikas, and then maybe bring Robertson on for kind of relief for the last 15, 20 minutes. I think he would want to start Robertson against Manchester City.
I see, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that'll happen. Will he rest Bradley? Don't know. I don't know if he'll do that. I guess it becomes a straight change or choice between Gomez and Bradley for for right full back. Does he pick Gomez because he feels that as Sparta's the home team that they might offer a little bit more going forward, possibly? Mm-hmm. So again, love to sit down and talk to Jurgen Klopp about all the different things that he goes through before picking his team in a game like this.
Yeah.
But he certainly has options at the back. I mean, like, they're not stretched as thinly as they are, say in midfield.
Sure. Yeah. It'll be interesting. And we have the right guy who knows how to manage these things, like you said. The What about man of the match for the FA Cup game, and then man of the match for the Nottingham Forest game?
Well, I think there's no surprise that I think that you've got to give it to Jayden Danns for the Forest game. For the Southampton game, because to do what he did, he comes off the bench, seals the game, shows his quality. I think that's a pretty straightforward pick. For the Forest game, don't think it's as obvious. I mean, Kelleher showed again that he's a good, solid backup for Alisson, as I think he's shown through the last few weeks. I think Van Dijk shows at the back that he can hold whoever he's got around him together. I think that McAllister showed great composure. But I think you've got to give it to Nunez, really, because he just came up big. He came up big when the team needed him. And I think that when he came on, I think Gakpo's a good player, but I don't know if he's a centre-forward type in the same mould as Nunez or Jota even, in as much as those guys are central, they're in front of the goal. Gakpo tends to drop deeper a lot. So I think Nunez was needed, and he came up with the goods. He came up with the goods when it mattered.
Yeah, he was creating chaos as soon as he came on.
Yeah, I mean, he's almost on the end of so many things, and then finally he's rewarded. He does get on the end of something.
Yeah. Well, Coach, 2 for 2 this week. We were 3 for 3 doing a podcast and Liverpool victories. Let's keep it going.
Well, that is the hope. I mean, I kind of watch all the different things. I was watching Match of the Day in England to see what they had to say about the game, and obviously over here in America, NBC. And so I know that there's a feeling that I'd find it hard to disagree with, that logically Liverpool can't keep it going with all the players that they have out. And so far they've been proving myself and everybody wrong, and let's just hope it keeps going that way.
Yeah. It makes sense too. What they're saying is not, illogical. It's not biased. Manchester City is at full health. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's ready to go. And we know how dangerous of a team they are. And missing players is part of the game. Let's just hope down the stretch run here we're healthy, and next Sunday is really going to impact the title race.
I think it will. I don't think it'll settle the title race, but I think whoever comes out on top, it'll give them an advantage. And actually, Arsenal are a little bit underrated, I feel, at this point.
They've been on fire.
They've been on fire, and they're going to Sheffield United tomorrow. I was in Sheffield for the 2 years before I moved to this country, so I know the city quite well, and sad to report, that there's been a bit of disaster this season. So it's hard to see anything other than a comfortable Arsenal win tomorrow, because I don't even think that Sheffield United are capable of parking the bus.
Right.
The way things have panned out this season. So I don't know who Arsenal plays next weekend, but obviously Liverpool and City, if it was to be a draw, that might well put Arsenal into the driving seat. So who knows? It's This is, as everybody's saying, this is the key month. This is the key month, and let's just hope that Liverpool are still where they are right now at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean that game. That's not only is it exciting, like these types of games are exciting to watch, and we'll be a little bit anxious, a little bit nervous watching it, but these are the games that everybody's looking forward to from a fan standpoint, and I'm sure the players look forward to these games as well. I'm hoping that for a successful, I think I would take a tie with City. I would take that, and but a victory I think really would be a statement, and depending on who's going to be available and who can play. We all know how dangerous City is.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and as you say, like they've got all their big guns now. They've got all their big guns, so it's at Anfield. But given everything, I would have to believe that on paper, City are the favourites for next Sunday.
Yeah. Well, Coach, the Reds are performing well. We're very happy with this week's outcomes, and to all the Red fans out there, hello, and thank you for listening. We will be back next week, and we will go over the Sparta Prague game and the Man City game in depth. And good luck to our Liverpool team.
Yep. Do us proud again, lads. So yeah, Thursday in the Czech Republic.
All right. Everybody take care, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye everyone.